himself as somebody who was really religious. And his notion of religion was that we should kind of go off and separate ourselves from the society, from the dunya, and just be ascetic and just worship. He thought that's what spirituality was about. So you see several times, or many times in his life, he comes and he encounters and questions Imam Sadiq al-Islam. He says that you're claiming to be the Imam. If you're the Imam, why are you acting like this? You should be acting like this. And then the Imam explains to him that no, that's not the way it is. You have a wrong, unbalanced understanding of the religion, and this is the reality of it. So what happens is, this man comes to Imam Sadiq, and he's just looking at Imam Sadiq. He's looking at him, and he's staring at him. And Imam says that, okay, I noticed that you're staring at me. Why are you staring at me? He says that, I'm looking at the clothing that you're wearing. Because the Imam was wearing some nice, stylish outfit. Right? It was a combination of wool and silk, and it was really stylish. So he's like, why are you looking at me? He says, I'm looking at the clothing you're wearing. He says, this isn't the type of clothing that you should be wearing. Neither you nor your forefathers nor the Prophet of Allah, they never wore this type of clothing. It doesn't befit you. I think you should be wearing something simple. Something like coarse wool, a coarse tunic. But nothing stylish and classy like what you're wearing right now. Imam Sadiq al-Islam tells him that, Sufyan, you got it wrong. Islam doesn't tell you what you should wear. It doesn't say that you have to wear this particular thing. The Prophet used to dress the way he dressed because the situation in which he was living was such that it was not right for the leader of that time to be wearing nice clothing, because people were in poverty. But now the Muslims have become more wealthy, and what I'm wearing is appropriate, and I'm not doing so in a way that I'm ignoring the rights of the people. I'm very aware, acutely aware of the rights of people and how I need to help them and what my responsibility is towards them. But you can't come here and tell me that I have to dress this other way. That's not the spirit of Islam. And so what we understand from that is the Imam is telling him that no, it's not the case that you have to be a robot and just dress a certain way. Of course, we have certain guidelines. Some of them which are wajib. We have to be keeping some amount of the certain clothing that we have to wear. Women have to cover their hair in front of the non-mahram, and etc. Loose-fitting clothing, for the men as well too. But when it comes to the identifying, okay, you have to wear this thing or that thing, that's up to you. Islam doesn't come and specify you have to do this. If your personality is better expressed using this clothing than that clothing, then go ahead, that's fine. That reminds me of a incident that took place when I went to one of my teachers to ask him some questions. And in particular, I asked him a question about, I said that when I go back home, meaning America, I want to be able to advise the young people as to what majors they should choose and what career paths they should take. Can you please tell me what of all these different majors, which one is the best one to do? Okay, now I thought I was expecting that he would sit down and say, okay, well, number one is this, number two is number two is this, number three is this. But actually he didn't do any of that. Instead, he started explaining to me, he said that when it comes to choosing a major and pursuing a career afterwards, what you should do is, first of all, understand that there are some careers which are haram and some which are makruh and some which are halal. For example, it's haram to deal with interest, it's haram to sell alcohol, pork, these type of things. It's makruh to do some things, like I don't know if you know, but some of the, it's makruh to be a butcher, because if you a butcher, then it reduces that spirit of compassion in your heart. It's makruh to be somebody who sells the kafan, the clothing that you shroud yourself, or you're shrouded with when you die, because that also eats away at the compassion of the heart and the softness of the heart with remembrance to death. We respect our butchers, I don't mean to put them down, but it's a makruh profession to pursue. But other than that, okay, once you understand that, then he says that, well, first of all, look at what you're good at. What is it that you're inclined towards? Look at what the needs are in the society. And then look at what you want to do. Because one thing is your capability, what is it that you're able to do? Another thing is what you want to do. So look at what you want to do, look at your own capability, and look at the needs of the society. And based on that, figure out what you want to do. So I said that, no, wait, but which of all these, which is the best profession to take? Maybe some people think that for Muslims it's best to be an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer, right? Because, of the pressure from cultures. But that's cultural pressure. Okay, that's doesn't have anything to do with religion. He said none of that. He said that no. Find out what you're good at, find out what you want to do, and find out what the needs are, and then figure it out. And then he quoted a very interesting hadith from the Ahlul Bayt in Islam. He says that it's reported from the Ahlul Bayt, and a general statement that explains this concept. It says that alayna, they say alayna ilqa'ul usul wa alaykum al-tafriq. That it is our responsibility to give you the principles, but it's your responsibility to go out and apply them. Okay, it's not about that you have to do everything in this particular way. Yes, there are some rules which tell us that when it comes time for prayer, you have to stand up for prayer. But all the details of everything in your life are not dictated. In many cases, it's like, here's the principles, you have an aql, go talk to people who are wise in your society and figure out the best way of going about doing it. So to say that Islam says it has no room for creativity is not right. It's not being fair and honest. There are some places where we're told that, okay, in this situation, you should be exactly like everyone else. But that's because of a reason particular to that situation. For example, when inshallah brothers and sisters get the opportunity to go to Hajj, inshallah I pray that everyone does get that opportunity. This is the night where the destiny is written for us, whether we're going to go or not. And at least if we can't go there, at least we should make the niyyah of going, and inshallah we'll be rewarded for that niyyah, for that intention. When you go to Hajj, that's a particular situation where we're told that, okay, this is a place where you should shed your identity. Dress like everyone else, look like everyone else, do the same thing that everyone else does, because there's a lot of wisdom in that. There's a lot of benefit for the soul by doing that. It's not a permanent thing, it's for a short amount of time. But there's some wisdom behind that. And when you come out as a new person. Or even in a smaller level, when you go for Jama'ah prayers, we're told that it doesn't matter, what profession you're coming from, how much salary you're making, whether you're young or you're old. When it comes time for prayers, okay, line up. Shoulder to shoulder. Whether you be dressed with fine robes or you're dressed with, a t-shirt and jeans, that's okay. It's about the brotherhood, the unity, the brotherhood and the sisterhood, being one. So there's wisdom behind that. But in other cases, no. Islam respects that individuality, it respects that creativity. Please respect Allah. So brothers and sisters, until now I've given an answer to that question that's been a good answer, but now I want to give a deeper answer. And I challenge the brothers and sisters to open up their minds, to listen carefully, and to see whether we can understand from the Quran what notion do we have of individuals from the Quran? What notion do we have of creativity from the Quran? I want to take you to Surah Maryam of the Quran. Surah Maryam is Surah number 19. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins, He says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Kaf ha ya ayn sad. Dhikru rahmati rabbika abdahu Zakaria. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts out and He says that remember and call to mind, recollect the story of the mercy that I poured upon my servant Zakaria. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for one page, He talks about Zakaria and the story of Zakaria. And He shows how part of what Zakaria does is that he takes care of a young girl named Maryam. And he's in charge of raising her while she's part of that, she's part of that monastery or the place where the priests and the religious leaders were. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very keen on us being reminded of Zakaria, and He talks about him at length. He praises him.